And so when I started my channel, I did not intend on it being a cooking channel. I wanted to chronicle the things that I was doing in my everyday life. With a well-stocked pantry, I have most of the ingredients on hand for the things that we are purchasing as a finished product and paying through the nose for. Hi, my name is Terry and welcome back to my kitchen. Yesterday I had a really productive day and I had all these plans for today, all these things I was going to accomplish, and I woke up with a horrible migraine. So I've been down with that most of the day, but I finally got enough of a reprieve that I can get started on some of the projects that I had. Today we're going to be making homemade yogurt and homemade mayo. The other day we had gone grocery shopping and I keep looking at not only the prices of everything, but then I look at the total, compare the total that's on my receipt to the amount of bags I have in my hand and go, what the heck? I didn't get anything for that money. And so when I started my channel, I did not intend on it being a cooking channel. I wanted to chronicle the things that I was doing in my everyday life as a mom, as a grandma, as a homemaker, as a mini farmer, a gardener, all of these different things. But as I look at our family budget, I can't control our utilities to a great extent. I can't control how much we're spending on gas other than by cutting down driving. I can't change the price of the gas we're putting in the cars. I can't control a lot of things, but one thing I can control is the amount that we're spending on food. Now, obviously, we still have the same amount of mouths to feed. So there's only so much I can do to control that. But I have found, as I have started going back to making more things from scratch like I used to, when food was cheap, we got out of the habit of making all of our stuff. And we just kind of slowly backtracked on that for convenience sake. Now that food is more expensive, I am back to making our bread. I have started making our tortillas. I have made yogurt. I made mayo. And that's in addition to the stuff that we normally can, freeze, and that kind of thing. We've been on the hunt for recipes that our family likes. As my kids were raised on stuff from the grocery stores, I can't deviate much from the flavors of things that they're used to, at least at the beginning. So to have my kids say, hey mom, we're getting low on bread, you need to make some more. Or mom, we're at the bottom of the jar of mayo, you need to make some more. That's a huge win for me. But the epiphany that I had was with a well-stocked pantry, I have most of the ingredients on hand for the things that we are purchasing as a finished product and paying through the nose for. So I realized I have the ingredients, I have the skills, I may have to stretch on a few of these things, but why am I killing the family budget in order to provide those things for my family when I can provide a better quality item by making it from scratch? So tonight I'm gonna show you a new recipe for mayo. I've done mayo one other time and we liked that recipe, but it didn't set up quite right. And it was a little heavy on the mustard flavor for us. We're not big fans of mustard in our family. And then I had my daughter recently come over. We did a big cooking day and we both had milk that needed to be used up. And so we made yogurt. Now, she had made yogurt before. I never had. A little embarrassing to say as the mom versus the daughter, but it's the way it goes. So she walked me through it last time and it was much easier than I thought it was. Now, over medium heat, and that is very important because you do not want to scald your milk. You're going to heat this slowly, stirring it as needed to make sure you don't burn it. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is that I sent John to the store to pick me up a gallon of milk because when I priced out milk, it was cheaper to buy a gallon of milk than it was to buy a gallon of yogurt. So to me, that's a no-brainer. And so while he was looking, he said, well, they have these half gallons on sale for 90 cents because they're close to date. So we're going to make almost a gallon. The kids have used a little bit of this. Almost a gallon of yogurt for $1.80. I make it like Greek yogurt, and then we flavor it with our own jams or whatever flavor it is that we want. I like to use my low sugar peach jam. So that in and of itself is better for us. We have this, what I'll call a meat thermometer. That's what we use it for. It has both a stand and a magnet on the back. And then it has this probe. So there you can see the probe says it's currently 70 in here. We have it set for 180.
Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit, yes. And then I just dangle that in there, and then we found it actually will magnet to the side. It won't magnet to the stainless, but it'll magnet to the side of my thing. So if I need to check it, I just pull it off of there and check it. We're going to give it a quick stir, and it will develop a film as it starts cooking. Don't worry about it. After the last time that I made mayo, I was following a recipe to do it in a blender, and it was much like making like a hollandaise sauce where you have to drizzle the oil in by drops. I found another recipe that was for using an immersion blender, a stick blender, and that was something I had on my list for wanting to get for using for soups and things like that. John ordered this for me from Amazon, and this is actually going to be the first time I use it. So the recipe that we are following is from Downshiftology, I think is what it is. They have you add the egg, lemon juice, vinegar, mustard, and salt to the jar that came with your immersion blender. Slowly pour the oil on top and let it settle for a minute. Place your stick blender in the jar and press it firmly to the bottom, making sure it's covering the egg yolk. Turn it on and keep it pressed against the bottom of the jar for at least 10 to 15 seconds without moving it. Once the mayo starts to emulsify and thicken, slowly move the stick blender up and down to fully combine the ingredients. Stir the mayo and place in an airtight storage container in the refrigerator. And they said it takes like 3 minutes to make. Now I am going to use vegetable oil tonight as I make this, just because while we're trying to figure these recipes out and what our liking is, I don't want to use expensive ingredients in case the recipe is a total flop and no one will eat it. So if we like the recipe, then we'll look at getting a healthier for us oil to use for it. So we're going to do the egg. See, this is why it works for me. If I'm right here next to it, but I'm doing something else, then I can multitask. Otherwise, I'm known to walk away and forget. We're up to 100 degrees. So you can see how convenient that is. So a half a tablespoon of lemon juice. And lemon juice is one of those ingredients that I keep on hand for canning to increase the acidity, but it also helps to keep the fruit from browning. So like when you're doing jams or canning fruit, it's pretty important to have on hand. Turned this down a little bit because it was heating up a little too quickly and I was worried we were going to scald on the bottom, which we don't want to do. I just switched the positioning of that because it was sitting on the bottom, so I didn't want it to get false readings. Yeah, see, we're at 133 with it suspended in the middle, so that gives us a truer reading on it. Okay, it looks like the oil is separated from the other ingredients, which I was careful when I poured it to try to make sure it stayed. So now it says to place the stick blender in the jar, cover the yolk And then blend for 10 to 15 seconds without moving it. You see it emulsifying and coming up? Hey, it's already turning white on the bottom. That's making weird noises. Wonder if it's getting too thick on the bottom. Guess what?
Almost looks like too much oil.
It says to stir it. That emulsified better than...
Yeah. Looks like mayo.
Yep. That emulsified way better than the other one.
Yeah.
Look at.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to need to make a second batch though if this tastes good. That texture.
Yeah. It doesn't.
Going to check my milk one more time. Make sure that's suspended high enough. 162. I'm going to go wash this stuff up before I do a new batch, just because I don't think it'll emulsify well. Okay, so just as I was going to pour the oil, you can hear the timer going off. Now I'm going to switch it to the tripod with the probe still in here. Now that we reached 180, we have to let it cool to 110, which does take a little bit. So we're going to continue making the second batch of mayo. And one thing that I wanted to bring up that we were talking about off camera was using this mayo jar is not to trick our kids. Our kids know that this is homemade mayo, and that's why they said, hey mom, you need to make some more, we're getting low. It just is a convenient, you're used to grabbing a mayo jar that looks like this. I had one empty, so to me it made sense. Okay, so the yogurt, well the soon-to-be yogurt, is down to 150 degrees now. We got the second batch of mayo made. I'm not exactly sure what I did different. I don't know if I didn't hold it in the right place at for the right amount of time. Anyway, something I did was different and my mayo broke. Now when a sauce breaks, it's when the fat basically breaks apart the oils and the proteins and stuff. John, if you'll zoom in right here, you can still see some of the remnant of that broken sauce on the lid. And so in another post that I had seen when I was researching how to make mayo, they had said, you know, if your sauce breaks, here's a couple of tricks to try. And one was an old Julia Child's trick of putting a teaspoon of mustard, having problems finding my words as I'm doing this, into a container and then slowly add the broken sauce into it. And the fact that the mustard is already an emulsified sauce will help to basically bring it back. And in this case, it didn't work. So then I tried, the other thing that they said was to put an egg yolk. I just put a whole egg in there and then I had just enough of the broken sauce to cover the bottom of the stick blender and basically restarted the process, waited until that started to emulsify, and then we added, we like drizzled the broken sauce, we had it in this, in as much as it would take as it was emulsifying, and we were able to get the sauce back to where it needed to be. There's the jar of the new recipe. Doesn't look much different than it would from the store. This recipe is specifically designed for using with a stick blender. If I did a third batch, this whole thing would be full. And this jar is about
$7.
like $7 in our area. So while we were waiting for the milk to cool, we got the kitchen all cleaned up, got out the cooler that we use for incubating in. This is just an old cooler that we have, but the 2 half-gallon jars fit perfectly in it. So we are down to 109 degrees, so we just broke that 110 threshold. And now I'm going to do my best to divide between these 2 jars. Now I already put the starter that I had from my previous batch in here, and to basically overly simplify it, what makes yogurt is the good bugs that are in it. There's lactobacillus, there's like a whole bunch of, I don't remember which all ones are in it, but that's what makes it good for us and gives it the texture that it has. That's why we have to cool it to 110, because otherwise it'll kill those bugs. So we are inoculating this new batch with a starter from last batch. So you only need like I think it said a 1/4 cup per container. So I had pulled a 1/2 cup off to make sure it didn't get eaten. Now once I get this jar filled to about the same as what the other jar is, I'm going to stir it so that that starter gets mixed in, because right now it's just sitting at the bottom. And then we've got a clean canning lid and ring. We're just going to screw that on loosely. Yeah, I mean, you can see it's just not even finger tight, it's just snug. So now these are warm. I'm not going to pick it up by the ring because it's not super tight, but I just set it down here. I have a towel that I wrap around it. Don't bang your jars together. My daughter lost 2 jars last week because they got banged together when she was carrying them over to my house. I just wrap the towel around that to help hold the heat in. And that way it doesn't matter that this is an old nasty cooler. We close it up and I actually just leave it sitting on the counter, on my washing machine, in front of the pantry, wherever, where it's just not going to get disturbed until it is done incubating. So I will check it in the morning, make a decision if it's ready or if it needs to wait a little longer. So right now it is 11 p.m. And so about 7, 8 tomorrow morning, I'll check it and see where we are on it. Good morning. It's been a rough night. This migraine is just not letting go. Luckily, my doctor's calling in a prescription for me because I was out of my migraine meds. So hopefully I can get this knocked down. But projects don't wait for anyone. So it's now 10:20 a.m. I didn't get to it quite as early as I had planned just because of the way my night went. But we're going to go ahead and pull the yogurt out. So you can see how I have it nestled in here. We just wrap the towel over it so it kind of creates a cocoon for it. I can actually still feel heat in here. Feel, John. You can still actually feel warmth.
Oh, yeah.
And so, look. So we're going to go ahead and tighten the lid up now.
It jiggles.
That one's set up too. And that is how easy it is to make homemade yogurt. So these will go in the fridge. We'll eat on them over the next up to 3 weeks. They're good in the fridge. Make sure I pull a start off of these for next time. And eventually, I don't know how long it takes down the line, but eventually I'll have to repopulate with a new one from the store. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.